Watch KSTV weeknights at 7:30 and 11 Eastern, and anytime with Inside On Demand on Channel 103.
That was only about a year ago that Terrence Jones changed the course of Kentucky's basketball season by announcing he was going to forego the draft and return to school. This year, Mark, he's entered the draft as a sophomore. His draft status has kind of been all over the board, but one thing is clear. He has a lot of potential. He has a nice resume here at Kentucky. What do you like about him? What are his strengths going into the draft?
Well, one, as much as haters want to say that he's not good offensively, he only goes to his right or his left hand. He doesn't have a right hand. He has a huge skill set. I mean, it's extensive. He not only goes to the basket, but he has a jump shot. He can face up. He can do things that most guys at his position can't do. But he also couples that with he can run the floor. He's the type of guy that can get a rebound, drive the length of the floor, and make a layup. And a lot of guys that are going to play the 4 or the 3 can't do.
He creates matchup problems. I know we can talk about some weaknesses in a minute in terms of where he plays, but he's a guy that does a lot of things pretty well, kind of like Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, but he doesn't do anything that really jumps off the page at you. Did you see a difference from Terrence Jones as a freshman, Terrence Jones as a sophomore, going over some of these strengths? So defense, I think there was an upgrade there. Explosiveness, there was an upgrade. His skill set, an upgrade. But his attitude is what people really question him about. Do you think his attitude improved or he showed anything as a sophomore?
I think he had one bad mess up, which was the Indiana game. But you can't fault him. He came through. I think he was a vital part to their national championship run. I think his attitude improved from the Indiana game and got better as the season progressed. He not only learned how to play better within himself, but he learned how to play with really good teammates and how to, sacrifice for the team. I know Coach Callaway talks about shared sacrifice, and I think he did that wonderfully. And I think in the NBA, that's huge going forward. Like I said, he's explosive. He can defend, I think, 2 through 5.
He's underrated. He averaged 2 blocks a game, which people don't realize because he's not a leaper like Anthony Davis or real long.
But he didn't have 4.7 like Anthony Davis, so people forget that. But this, I'm telling you, Anthony Davis had 4.7. Terrence Jones had 2. Anybody in the country would have average 2 blocks a game would be happy.
Yeah, and I think he gets a bad rap for his attitude. I don't think he has a bad attitude. I think he, like all young players, had some times where he's frustrated or confused, and part of that was as a freshman, John Calipari really came at him. He started out of the gate great when Brandon Knight was struggling, really came at him and said, we expect more, we expect more. He didn't respond really well, but as a sophomore, he kind of took that step forward. And the thing that I remember most about him is when the guys got together and announced that they were going pro, all 5 together as one team, Terrence Jones was the one that organized it. And I think that speaks to how he matured as a teammate and as a leader, as a sophomore.
Absolutely. I'm talking, he grew. He matured, and I think Coach Cal knows it. If you hear him talk to his camps like I just did last week, he has nothing but glowing things to say about Terrence Jones. And like I said, it's going to show huge in the NBA.
Yeah, that inconsistency, I think, has improved a little bit. Left-handed, I know that's been a criticism of him, and lack of a true position. In the NBA, where do you see him fitting in?
That's the problem. I think a lot of NBA GMs are wondering, is he fast enough to play a 3? Because almost all the big superstars in the league are 3s. You talk about Dwayne Wade, who, him and LeBron, which one, could he guard one of those? Could he guard a shooter that coming out on the wing and make a shot? Or can he guard a slasher? Is he big enough to guard a 4? And I think that's the reason on defense, is he big enough to guard him? Or is he skilled enough to be a better ball handler to play a 3? Or is he going to post him up and do things like that? I don't think people know, which is a good thing. It's versatile, but it's almost a bad thing if he doesn't have a go-to position.
NBA player-wise, who do you compare him to? Who does he remind you of?
I'm going to have to say, and I haven't heard this a lot, is Lamar Odom. A lot of people say, Marvin Williams, but I say Lamar Odom. He's a little bit shorter, but if you watch, he's another lefty. But if you watch him, he has the same type of game. He's kind of, he's going left most of the time, but I do think if he gets his right hand better, he'll be able to mess up some defenses and just add to his overall game.
Now, as a draft projection, early on there were reports that he was going as high as number 7. Past couple of weeks, he's really fallen. And it's all over the place right now. You get from about 4 to 25, and you don't know where anybody's going. But a couple of the teams that he's projected to go to, first off, with the Philadelphia 76ers at 15. What do you think of him as a fit with the Sixers?
I think it's a great fit. Honestly, I want to see him go to 15 to be in that lottery pick, range. And I don't know if they totally need him or they, but I feel like he's the type of guy that you really can't go wrong with. if you put him in the right situation. I feel like Philadelphia 76ers had a great year last year. They got a lot of good veterans. They got Jody Meeks on the team, which I know is a good teammate, and I feel like he would fit in well there.
Yeah. Now, quickly, Dallas Mavericks at 17, another team rumored. I think he'd fit in well with that team because they're going through a transition. They're going to still have some superstars.
They're a great organization.
If they get Darren Williams, but it would give him opportunity. Do you like his fit there?
I do like his fit because they're a great organization. Obviously, they got a great owner, and I feel like they also have a good run of there's good experience and there's good young guys, and I feel like he would fit in and go with the Mavericks.
And the other team he's projected to possibly go to, 21 Boston Celtics, another great organization.
They got 2 picks in a row. I think if he falls that far, the Celtics will pick him up.
Yeah. Now, it doesn't seem that long ago that Deron Lamb and Terrence Jones were tweeting out pictures of each other in their jerseys for the first time. Now they're both getting ready to go to the NBA as sophomores. Deron Lamb, thought to be a first-round pick, looking now like he could end up in the second round. Mark, he's a guy that really came in with a reputation as a scorer. He's going to come and hit big-time shots, really give the team a spark as a sixth man, as a freshman, played as a starter last year. When you look at strengths, what he does well, what are the things that can really help him at the NBA level?
Well, for one, he comes off screen so well. I don't feel like he's the type of shooter that a lot of people think won't work in the NBA, where you're shooting all the time. You're the only one on your team that's coming off screens and fading away and doing all that stuff. He takes good shots because he was on a great college team. I think he hits big shots. I don't think he's scared to take the big shot, which is a huge thing. But he's also got that smooth game where, if you look at some guys, they're really, they fly off screens, they're off balance. I think he's smooth. There's about 30 point guards in the league that would love to pass to him to get assists and to get 3 points. And I feel like he would fit in almost with any program because they want shooters.
Yeah. A word that I would describe him as crafty. He never looks like he's rushed. In fact, he almost looks like he's half asleep sometimes.
Right.
But he's always under control. He's very crafty in the paint with the ball, smooth jump shot. And that's a valuable skill in the NBA that a lot of teams, good teams, bad teams, anybody need guys that can shoot the ball, especially pick and roll, mid-range. Moving on to his weaknesses, when you're looking at Deron Lamb, where do you think he struggles at the NBA, or where are you concerned?
Well, for one, I don't know if he's athletic enough to get to the basket. And I know he's got a good floater game, but can he? I never see him finish with a dunk. I know he can get out and run. I know he can do that. But also, is he big enough to play it? Or is he good enough to play it too? Is he big enough? Because I know people want him to play a point guard. He's 6'3". There's a lot of point guards that are bigger than him. But I still believe that's his weaknesses. Those aren't bad weaknesses, because if he can stand up and spot up shoot, if he can go off the dribble and create his own shot like he has been doing, I don't feel like there's one bit of weakness in his game other than the fact that maybe he doesn't dunk enough.
Right.
But,
yeah. Now, at Kentucky, defense is – John Calipari really preaches defense, wants you to be very intense on the defensive end of the floor in order to get on the court. His defense improved as a sophomore. It was pretty terrible as a freshman. Do you think he's ready to defend NBA shooting guards, especially NBA point guards, or is he more of a prospect that you let develop for a year or two?
He's going to have to develop, don't get me wrong, but I feel like he can guard, and I think he's played enough big games. A lot of guys in college don't get to play the schedule that Kentucky played, or the big games that Kentucky played. I feel like he guarded some of the best in the country, and he did well at it. I don't see any reason it wouldn't continue on.
And he's been playing big-time basketball since high school. We talk about John Calipari all the time, having these freshmen. They come in and they don't play like freshmen. Deron Lamb has played big games all throughout high school. Now, looking at the NBA level, who do you think he compares to, either best case scenario or just a guy that he could be in the league?
Best case scenario, and I know a lot of people will not agree with me, but Ray Allen, I feel like he comes off screens. If he can learn how to use screens like Ray Allen does, if he can get a quicker shot like Ray Allen does, I'm not saying rushed, just maybe quicken his shot a little bit. He's at the best case scenario, maybe gets on a championship team because he's going to be late in the first round. He can get on a team like that and win win world championships. I guess we're in the NBA now. But I also think, on a low end, Ben Gordon. I think he's a shooter. He's about 6'3", 200 pounds, a lot like Deron Lamb. And he also got in a good situation with a good team. And like I said, if you have a good point guard and a good big man where they can't double out on you as a shooter, you're going to get open looks. You just got to knock them down.
And Ben Gordon is a tough guy. He's a little guy who's tough. And I think Deron Lamb has that in him. Maybe it didn't always show because he didn't need to be the star on the team. But going back to what you said, coming off of screens, that's such, I think, an underrated skill, especially in the NBA.
Right.
I remember a friend of mine played in the NBA after his rookie year. We're like, well, who's the hardest guy to guard? You expect him to say LeBron, Carmelo, somebody like that. He said Richard Hamilton, because they run you through screens and you get killed as a defender. And Deron Lamb, maybe not the size of Richard Hamilton, maybe a little different game, but I think coming off screens like that could be very good.
That's how he can succeed in the NBA, is because he can come off screens. He's not like LeBron where you give him the ball and just watch him work.
Yeah.
I mean, he has to come off screens. He has to have great timing. And not only that, he has to be tough to come off screens, rub this guy up, set his man up. And I feel like he's been doing that in college. He has to even step it up further in the NBA.
Yeah. No, like we said, he's late first-round projection, maybe second round. Real quick, the Boston Celtics picks 21-22, mentioned as a team he could end up with, like Terrence Jones. How do you think he fits with them?
I think a team like the Celtics that have 2 picks back-to-back, I feel like he could fall right there early in the 20s of the first round. Now, he would fit in great. I feel like he could watch the guy like I compared him to, Ray Allen. I feel like he could watch him, learn to come off screens, and for the first year, it could be huge. Secondly, I feel like if he goes later in the first round to 25, I feel like the Memphis Grizzlies are a good fit. Even better, the Bulls. Yeah. I feel like the 29, the Bulls could be huge for him. Great organization, great point guard, and that's the type of things that Duran Lab needs to succeed. He needs a great point guard, a pretty good big man, and just a good organization to develop in.
Yeah, I think the Bulls are an excellent fit for him. The thing you have to worry about is then if you get into that second round, those first couple of teams are terrible.
Right.
So I think I have the opinion every year when I watch the Kentucky guys go, you just hope that they don't end up with the Bobcats or the Raptors.
Exactly.
So Duran Lamb and then Darius Miller we'll talk about
that's
tomorrow.
a rough 5 years.
Yeah, you get back in there, you're in trouble.